a result of trusting this process and doing the steps. And it has happened for me. It will happen for you as well, I believe, if you do these steps. So a spiritual awakening will happen. And in carrying this message to alcoholics, I came into the program and it was all about me. It's all about me, right? And then it ended up, and the literature says, that working with another alcoholic will become the highlight of our day. That's an amazing turnaround for me to feel good about working and helping another alcoholic than looking out for what I want. And that does become the highlight of our day. In my day, actually, is when I'm working with my sponsor or someone that I sponsor or someone else, especially a recovering alcoholic, is I get the most joy and satisfaction out of doing that. And practice these principles in all our affairs. Well, the promise of the 12-step is also, I believe, in the 12 and 12. The first sentence is, the joy of living is the theme of AA's 12th step, and action is the key word. So we get into action by helping alcoholics, practicing these principles in all our affairs, and in AA's manner of making ready to receive these gifts lies in the practice of the 12 steps of our program. And I will end with this promise. I call it a promise, but the big book kind of is ended and summarizes with this, which I believe really kind of summarize where we're at here with embarking on this new life in the 12th step. And then it talks about that our book here is meant to be suggestive only. We realize we know only a little. God will constantly disclose more to you and to us. Ask Him in your morning meditation what you can do each day for the man who is still sick. The answers will come if your own house is in order, but obviously you cannot transmit something you haven't got. See to it that your relation with Him is right, and great events will come to pass for you and countless others. This is the great fact for us. Abandon yourselves to God, as you understand God. Admit your faults to God and to your fellows. Clear away the wreckage of your past. Give freely of what you find and join us. We shall be with you in the fellowship of the Spirit, and you will surely meet some of us as you trudge the road of happy destiny. May God bless you and keep you until then. Thank you very much.
Everybody like to take a seat, please? What I'd like to do right now is have a brief awards presentation. I think those last two workshops, sponsorship and 12 steps, were really excellent. So I just want to give those facilitators a hand. It went very smooth. I'd like to turn the mic over to Damon.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Damon, and alcohol isn't the problem today. I'm the problem. I just want to tell a little bit about how I came into Alcoholics Anonymous. It was 1989, and I was about to go to work, and my alcoholic counselor asked me to go into treatment, which I refused for so long. At that time, I went to a treatment center and began to grasp on to the concept of alcoholic. Then, after 30 days of treatment, I came out and began a new way of living through the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. And I managed to stay clean and sober for 4.5 years. And then I got complacent and stopped going to a lot of my meetings and thinking that I could do it on my own, and started drinking so-called non-alcoholic beer, which eventually led me back. Then I came back around in 1994, and haven't looked back since, one day at a time. Only this time I began working the steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. And here today, I'm here to tell you that I've been clean 7 years, one day at a time. A week ago today, my father passed away, and I didn't feel like I needed a drink because, as I said earlier, it isn't the alcohol or the drugs, it's me. And I just got in touch with my feelings and prayed and turned it over to the God of my understanding and moved on. I'm here to present these awards to 12-Step Workshop on the behalf of the 12-Step Workshop, Kevin Worm, Susie Mavine. Turn it over to Brett.
I'm Brett, and I'm an alcoholic and an addict. For me, I was like a lot of people. I hated life, I hated myself, and I basically wanted to die, but I didn't have the goal to do it straight out. So I tried to do it with crystal meth and heroin and pretty much anything else I could get my hands on. And, I hate being locked up, but I'm glad that it came about because it saved my life. And today I love my life and I love myself. And even though I might be locked up, one in particular person has told me a lot of the times that he don't understand why people feel like their lives end in prison when really they're just getting started. And, that's kind of how I feel. I got a new start on life with a different outlook. And we have some things here for the sponsorship workshop. The first one is for Betsy McGrath, and the second one is Harold McKenna. Least and last, this is for my homeboy, who's celebrating 26 years birthday today. Hey, Gene, you want to come get this birthday card, man?
Hello, I'm Dave. I'm alcoholic. I was asked to just help give a brief understanding of who I am. Say around the age of 13, 14, I think that's the first time I got drunk. But before then, growing up, my parents would just give me a taste here and there when I was like 5 or like 6. I see them drinking or whatever, and they just let me taste. But all in all, I can't really call exactly why I got drunk that first time. I don't know, I think I just had to be accepted by whoever. And as a result, I have a 6-year-old daughter who was out there right now. And hey, this is something I'm just going to get off my chest while I'm up here. This is something that, I usually only tell like certain people about. This is something I usually only kick with just a couple of comrades of mine, maybe 1 or 2 people. But Thursday night, talked to my mother. And she told me she got a call from my daughter's mother on the answering machine. And she must have thought she hung the phone up, but she didn't. So she said in the background, she heard some male's voice saying, "I'm just going to be graphic with it. B, you done took my money and you going to leave?" That like tore me up. That's something I'm like dealing with right now. And I walk around the jail with a fake smile on my face. Like everything is all right. Because in prison, that's the lingo. Don't wear your emotions on your sleeves. But anyways, without sake of time, this plaque is presented in recognition of the Baltimore Area Intergroup Institutional Committee for their support of the AA prison conviction at Patuxent Institution.
I want to make sure that this gets presented to the intergroup at their next meeting, which will be in about 2 weeks. I'll take it to there and present it to the chairperson of the intergroup, but I know that they'll really, really appreciate this. Thank you.
Before I turn it over to our next speaker, so much went into planning this convention. There's a lot of people who helped out in ways that really were behind the scenes. And like I said, this is something that couldn't have happened until everybody pulled together and made it happen. So each little piece helped, and sometimes big pieces were put into this thing, and it really made this thing come out nice. I want to acknowledge a gentleman who's sitting here looking kind of anonymous. Chet, would you like to come up and accept this plaque? Presented in recognition for your support of the AA Prison Convention at the Coxon Institution. I'd like to ask that. Bernie, would you like to come up here for a minute?
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Bernie, and I'm an alcoholic. It certainly is good to be standing up here seeing all of your faces. I've been the sponsor of the Thursday night meeting here, and this event is remarkable in terms of the different things that had to come together to make it happen. As many of you know, Jim's been working on this for well over a year, 2 years actually. He started moving the idea through, and we got it all from you all on the inside, had it all planned up and together. All the paperwork was set. We thought we were ready to go, and the institution said, can't do it. No money. And the thing that was interesting was AA on the outside had heard about this, and this really is the first inside an institution convention ever. So outside, there was a whole lot of enthusiasm and excitement about this happening, and then we had to go back and say, well, didn't happen. So there was all these people on the outside coming up to say, hey, how was that convention? Didn't happen. But because of perseverance and consistency and the willingness of you all on the inside, no matter how many times they took it away, 5 times they took it away. I can only remember 4, but no matter how many times they took it away, without getting angry, without getting resentful, without doing any of that, you came back, we presented the paperwork again. The last time around, I will be honest with you, this alcoholic had to work on some character defects of my own, because I had a personal conversation with the director of this institution, and we had reached a handshake agreement about what was going to happen, and I had the signatures and everything, and again they said, sorry, we can't do it. And I was, pardon my language, pissed. And frankly, we all sort of heaved this collective sigh and said, well, we'll just keep doing it. And you all inside, this time, this last one, you all on the inside just kept putting it together. I finished my 2-year bit at, I'd sort of do these service jobs in 2-year cycles, because after a while I think you get stale. And if you're doing an AA service job and there comes a point where you start having big resentments, that's time to pass it on. And in our service concepts, in our 12 concepts, there's a spirit of rotation. So every 2 years, you look for something else, and so there we were. And then I hear one of my last things, Jay comes up and says, well, we're on in 2 weeks. I said, what? I haven't even heard anything about this. And then about 3 days ago, Jim called and said, Bernie, we're on this weekend, and everything's falling apart on me, but it's still gonna happen. And so, it is amazing how the higher power works. AA is an amazing, amazing program. It's perfect the way it all falls together. And frankly, all of our planning, if higher power wants it to happen, it's going to happen in spite of all of our character defects. And if it's not going to happen, no matter what you do, it's not going to happen. But I just want to take a moment coming here is such a rush. I'm also supposed to be doing this thing at this German festival. I used to do the German festival while I was out there in my cups. And you know what the German festival is all about is drinking beer and sitting around and having a good time. But I know in my heart, I couldn't wait to come back here because there's something special happening in this room right now that has never happened before. And I just want to take a moment for all of us together at AA to give the old higher power a hand and just us a hand for being here. And with that, I'll hand it back over to our Master of Ceremonies.
And I want to turn it straight over to our local speaker, Kathy.
My name's Kathy Phillips. I'm an alcoholic. I've already been given the heave-ho at 6 o'clock, so... My sobriety date is June 17th of 1988. My home group is Eldersburg Into Action, and I have a sponsor that I have a relationship with. I'm also blessed and honored to be a sponsor. It says in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, we share in a general way what we were like, what happened, and what we are like now. And any minute now, I know my higher power is going to kick in and start using me. I'm going to come down a little bit. I broke the land speed record getting over here. I got off work late, jumped in the car, and just sped over here the whole way, praying to God I wouldn't get pulled over. And I'm here now. You know, I got to tell you what an honor it is to even be considered to be invited here. And here we all are. Such an incredible thing that our higher power does, usually without us even knowing. And that's what happened to me, and that's how I ended up in Alcoholics Anonymous. What I was like was, I was a cucumber waiting to become a pickle. And here's the deal with cucumbers and pickles. Once a cucumber becomes a pickle, there's no going back to becoming a cucumber. And I was a little cucumber, and I knew I wanted to grow up to be a pickle. I grew up next door to a bar. It was one of those redneck bars with the rough and tumble, knife fights out in the parking lot and all kinds of crazy stuff happening. And I used to watch that as a child, and I couldn't wait to be old enough to go over there and do that. That looked like the most fun anybody could possibly have. I had to be an alcoholic before I ever drank to even think that. Because most kids, when they're 5 or 6, are thinking about playing with their Barbies or their G.I. Joes, and I'm thinking about being old enough to go over to the redneck bar and rip it up with everybody else. The wolves that raised me, Mommy Dearest and John Wayne, you know, they did the best they could with what they had, but I grew up in Dysfunction Junction, Maryland, and over there, they did the best they could with what they had, but they were dealing with an alcoholic before they even knew they were dealing with an alcoholic. I had the filter on before they even knew the filter was in place. So no matter what they did, no matter what they said, no matter what they had or didn't have, it was not going to matter. Now, at the time, I considered it a situation to be able to blame. Blaming was easy for me. I loved being the victim. And the reason why I loved being the victim was because then I didn't have to take any responsibility. Because responsibility was a long word for work. And I don't know about you, but I was not interested in work. Not anything that required any effort. Don't get me wrong, that doesn't mean I didn't work for a living. I worked so I could drink. I worked my butt off twice as hard as anybody else because I knew come Friday I was going to not be there because I'd start drinking on Thursday. And I knew on Monday I was going to come in with a hangover. So when I was there those few days, I worked twice as hard just to even feel as though I could be there. That was before I became unemployable due to my alcoholism. But back to the wolves, I learned a lot of things growing up in that family. I learned that you don't talk about the way you feel because nobody wants to know how you feel. You don't cry because that gives someone the ability to tear you down. That shows your vulnerability. So you shouldn't be vulnerable. You shouldn't ask for help. You shouldn't cry. And we pull ourselves up by our bootstraps. That was one we talked about in my family a lot. Also, we made our beds and we lied in them. And what that meant to me was there is no hope. It is the way it is. It is the way it is because You made it that way, and if that's the way that it is, then you've got to accept that, and that's it. And that's what I thought that I was being taught. By the time I started drinking, I couldn't wait to start drinking. I was not going to wait till I was old enough. Thank you. I was in the parking lot of a church on July 16th of 1977. I just happen to remember. And there were some kids out there. I didn't know the kids. They were all a lot older than me, and they had the magic elixir. They had Mad Dog 2020. Yeah, can I get a amen? And and if you're an alcoholic like I'm an alcoholic, man, you know what it did. I knew a new freedom and a new happiness. Did not regret the past, nor wish to shut the door on it. It was all good. I loved it. It did everything for me that I was never going to be able to do for me. It did everything for me that I knew in my limited thinking that God and Jesus were never going to be able to do for me. Those were my higher powers at the time. It did for me what my parents would have never been able to do. Nobody could have done for me what alcohol did for me. Man, I'm fit. I fit for the first time. I was enough for the first time. I had never been enough, and I was enough. Only later did I have to drink more to try to feel like more, because that's where alcoholism takes us. But being enough and armed with all this magical good feeling that I had, I had, I don't know, good 5 minutes of happiness and fun, and then before I knew it, I was in a blackout. And that's a lot of how I drink. I woke up the next day, they told me I had a great time, they told me I had a new boyfriend, I went around the corner to take a look at him. Woo! I would have chewed my arm off right then and there if I'd have known that I cured that. But that's the way my drinking was. Many days I woke up with the 4 horsemen: terror, bewilderment, frustration, despair, and some other guy. That was me. That's the way I drink. That's where alcoholism takes us. See, I thought it was just taking me somewhere ugly. I thought it was just me. I thought I was all alone with no solution. I thought that I made my bed, I gotta lie on it. I can't pull myself up by my bootstraps, and this is just the way it is for poor little old Kathy. They didn't love me enough, and I didn't get any opportunities and for me. And I thrived on that kind of negativity for a long time. I started getting arrested when I was about 12, and started getting in the jackpots. But, you know, the jackpots were always a direct result of being in the wrong place at the wrong time, or I shouldn't have been with those people. I shouldn't have been talking to those other people. It was never the fact that every time I got in a jackpot, I had been drinking or drugging. Every time. I started high school, and by the time I started high school, I had arrived. Rarely did I go all the way through the front door. Usually I got to the parking lot, and that's all I needed to do. Get to school, get to the parking lot. Everything I needed was in the parking lot of school. So I didn't get an education. I did as little as I could to get by. I never learned math. I knew how to read, and I loved to read because I could escape through reading. But I took classes like typing and guitar, and I took horticulture and Votech, which is plants. You know, what do you got to know to do plants? And as little as possible to get by, and that's the way that I lived my life. By the time I was 19, I was putting as much garbage into my body as I possibly could. It's all that mattered to me from the first drink to then, was getting the garbage into my body so that I could get out of my head. I couldn't take living in my head. And yeah, at first it was about hanging out and having a good time and being with my friends. And that was the dangling carrot. But once I took the carrot, it wasn't about that anymore. It was more important to me than being with my family. It decided what friends I was going to have. It decided where I was going to be and what I was going to do at all times. And I had never planned on that happening. I just planned on drinking a little bit of Mad Dog 2020, having a left-handed cigarette, and being done with the situation, you know, and having a good time and fitting in. And that's not the way it worked out for me. That's not alcoholism. That's not alcoholism. That's being a kid and having some fun and partying. By the time I was 19, I had absolutely no self-esteem. I had given away any dignity I may have ever gotten. I had absolutely no integrity. I had no respect for anyone around me. I had destroyed my relationship with my family to the point where I could no longer talk to them. They couldn't talk to me. I wasn't allowed in their home because they didn't know what I was going to steal. I was going to take anything that wasn't nailed down. See, I'm the kind of alcoholic that I'll steal from you and then I'll help you look for it. I'm conniving, I'm cunning, I'm a liar. I'm a filthy, rotten trash bag from the inside out by the time I'm 19. And I'm thinking that this is it. It's never going to get any better than this. I signed myself over, literally, to someone who was sicker than me. And it became okay to be treated in any way that person wanted to treat me because I felt as though I deserved that. I felt that I deserved to be treated like trash because I acted like trash and because I drank and drugged every day and because there was no way that I was going to do anything that was ever going to make me feel okay about me from the inside. And I believe that I deserved that on every level. That's alcoholism, okay? That's not some kid hanging out and partying. I was in situations where I knew that if I did too much and didn't come out of it alive, that I'd be rolled up in a carpet and thrown in the trash, just like I would do to you. I was in situations where I knew my parents would have to come down and identify the body if I didn't make it out. And that's not what I had planned. That's not where I expected to end up. Even as the victim, even as the person who nobody loved me enough, I was never going to have this, I was never going to get that, not that like I was going to work for it. With all of that thinking, that's where I was always going to be, was right there, and I couldn't do that anymore. So I did a geographical cure. And I don't know about you, I like to think big. I moved from Laurel to Fulton, which those of you that aren't from around here, that's maybe 10 miles. And and I thought if I got away from him and if I got away from that stuff, that I'll be better, I'll be okay. And I followed me right to where I went, and I began to torture everyone around me. I began to stay out every single night, and I drank in the 80s. And then back in the 80s, if you weren't there, my day went something like this. I would come to somewhere, try to figure out from Honey or Baby or whatever his name was, where am I at, grab my work clothes, which would be in the corner where I had gotten rid of them, throw those on, find my car, which was the beat-up raggedy Nova on its last leg, jump into the Nova, get to Vet's Liquors, get me a bottle. I wasn't like any of those other people waiting out here to get a bottle because I had a job to go to. I'd go to the job. It was a job where I was the only woman so that I could be the mascot and the little sister, and I didn't have to do as much. But I'd go there and I'd work twice as hard to prove that I belonged there, and I'd drink all day long while I was at that job. Come 3 o'clock, I'd start working my boss for a way to get out of there because now I really needed to drink. That nursing a drink all day long stuff wasn't getting it anymore. I needed to drink. So I'd figure out a way to leave work. I'd go over to the starting gate, planning on just having a couple of drinks and going home. But normally what happened was that I'd end up coming to somewhere, wondering what happened. All I was going to do was go to starting gate and have a couple. But on some nights, I'd get to starting gate, I'd have a couple of drinks, I'd buy me a bottle to drink between the starting gate and home. I'd get home, I'd go into the house, my father'd be sitting there having a cup of coffee. I'd go into the bathroom with my beer. I thought that was so sophisticated to drink beer in the shower. Drink my beer in the shower, get out of the shower, put on about, half pound of makeup. It was the 80s. Make my hair real big, bigger than it is right now. Dressed like a hooker, basically. I didn't think I was, but that's the way it looked to my father. I had him on spandex and a bustier and a leather and big boots, and I'd get myself down to Hammerjacks, which was the place to be. And I'd get myself down there, and I only needed $5 to get in the door at Hammerjacks. So I'd go in and get my drink, and then I'd work the bar. That's what I would do. And then eventually I would come to, with the four horsemen and somebody else, figure out where I am, and try to figure out how to get home. I didn't always make it home. Sometimes I would leave that house on Friday night, and by Tuesday, I would make my way back home, and I would walk through the front door of my father's home, and he would be sitting exactly where I left him. And I hope that I never, ever forget the way that felt. Because I would walk through that front door, and it just tears me up whenever I think about what I did to those people. Not the people in the street, the people that loved me. Not the people that were working me who I was working, the people that loved me, the things that I did to them. That's alcoholism. And I would walk through that door, and I would get the look. And if you're an alcoholic like I'm an alcoholic, you know the look. And if you don't know the look, continue to do what you're doing. You'll find out what it is. But just in case you think you might not know, or just in case your disease tells you you're not ready yet, the look on my father's face, the man who loved me and brought me into the world and had high hopes and expectations for me, the man who sacrificed and worked 2 jobs his whole life for me, looked at me with fear and with disgust, with frustration, and he looked at me like it was his fault. He looked at me like if he would have just loved me enough, if he would have just been there for me instead of being at work, maybe I'd be different. He looked at me like, I love you, I wish I could save you. And I would look at that look, and what I would want to say to him would be, I'm sorry. Because I stopped saying I was sorry a long time ago. They knew how sorry I was. I wanted to say I love you. I wanted to say I'm sick and I need help. I wanted to say I don't know why I do what I do to you. I don't know why I live like this. I don't know why I do these things. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm insane and I'm afraid somebody's going to find out. I don't know why. That's what I wanted to say. But I have a disease called alcoholism, and my disease is not going to let me talk about how I feel. So what I say is, what are you looking at, old man? And then I go back to the room with my face over here and my hair over there and my boots over my arm, and I run back there and I get cleaned up and I go running again because I can't take the look. And by the time it's over, I can't drink the look away. I can't outrun the look anymore. I can't live with any bum that'll let me stay there and beat me for a while to outrun the look. I can't do it anymore. I can't take it. I can't be inside of me anymore. I can't drink or drug enough to get away from me anymore. I just can't do it. I can't take getting arrested over and over and over again. I can't take any of it anymore. I just cannot take one more second inside of me, and I want to die so bad. But I'm not going to kill myself because I'm a coward on top of being a liar, a cheat, a thief, a whore, a drunk. There's no way I'm going to be able to kill myself. So now I'm just going to sit here in this puddle and I'm going to wait for something to happen. In the meantime, through all those arrests and going to jail and everything, they sent me to AA, and I thought AA was a really nice place for you, but it wasn't any place for me, because what I thought AA was a bunch of old people sitting around waiting to die because they couldn't drink, and if they were real good about sitting around waiting to die, that they'd let them bowl. I thought that was like what y'all did in AA, and I wasn't willing to sit around and wait to die, and I certainly wasn't willing to bowl. No offense to you bowlers in the house. I wanted the chaos. I needed the chaos. I was addicted to the chaos of that life. That was just as important to me as keeping the alcohol and drugs in my body. Was never knowing what was going to happen next. And I came to AA, and it wasn't for me. You gave me my way out. At the end of the meeting, they stood in a circle and they held hands. and which I thought was very cute. And they said the Lord's Prayer. Well, there's my out, because I got God and I got Jesus, and I'm afraid of those guys. I already know that they don't work for me. I already know they can't keep me sober. So I'm really glad y'all got AA. I'm going to go out here and do my thing. And so I got locked up again. And, probably the most humiliating thing for me about being away was my family coming to see me. I didn't like my family to come see me. I didn't want my family to see me that way. I didn't mind them writing to me because I could lie in the letters. But when they would come see me, they would give me the look, and I'd have to look at them, and they knew what a liar I was. And it doesn't have to be that way anymore for me. I ended up going through all of that. I ended up homeless and jobless, unemployable. I couldn't lie my way into a job I couldn't do anymore. I couldn't keep a job once I got it, if I could get it. I had nowhere to live. I worked on the barter system for places to stay. Y'all know what I'm talking about. And thank you. I would just do that. And so when I was on the flat of my back one more time, which hadn't been the first, one of a billion, something was different that day. That day I said, God, either help me get sober or help me die. I don't care which. And I was not struck sober from that moment on, but something in me changed. That's what happened. Something in me changed. I couldn't be me anymore. I couldn't be whatever it was I thought you wanted me to be anymore. And I had no clue what any of it was. And I still drank, because that's all I knew to do. That's all my body could do. But I ended up being able to be put into a rehab. And it was a dump, and it was hot that summer. And it didn't cost anything. It was funded by the United Way. If I'd had 2 dimes to rub together, I wouldn't have been done yet. That was using money, okay? So I was done, and I was ready to go. And I went to the rehab, and they gave me the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. They didn't give me any other books from any other fellowships. They gave me the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. And they made me read it over and over and over again. It didn't matter I didn't understand the words. It didn't matter I couldn't tell you what I read once I read it. None of that mattered. It mattered that I read it. They had meetings every hour on the hour, and I went to a meeting over and over and over again. They had counseling sessions. They didn't have aspirin, and they didn't have psychiatry, and they didn't have volleyball, and they didn't have delicious, well-prepared meals. It was a dump. It was a place to go and dry out and try to find out, what am I going to do to save my butt today? They taught me how not to drink or take drugs one day at a time, that this is a program of complete abstinence. They taught me that if I wanted to stay sober, I had to get on my knees and say please to God in the morning and thank you to God at night. And it didn't matter that all I had was God and Jesus, that I was going to get a new perception of God if I would get on my knees and say please and thank you and listen in the meetings in between and read the literature in between all of that and talk to you about what God was to you in between all of that. They taught me to get a sponsor. They told me to get a woman. The reason why they told me to get a woman is that a woman doesn't have anything to lose by telling me the truth. That I had to develop that relationship. I couldn't just say somebody was my sponsor and go around acting sick and tell everybody that was my sponsor. I had to call her up on the phone. I had to study the literature with her. I had to do the steps with her. I had to seek spiritual counsel with her. That was her job. They taught me that I had to get a home group. A home group is one meeting that I went to once a week. And I have a job in that home group. Whether it's emptying the butt cans or making coffee or greeting people, it didn't matter. That every job was just important as any job. But the important thing was that I had a job. And that I showed up there every week. And that the only thing that could keep me from showing up there was either I was dead or in jail. Otherwise, I had to be there. And if I wasn't there, they were going to call me and ask me where I was. Was I dead or was I in jail? They also taught me that if I had a day sober, then I had something to give away. I had something that I could use to help somebody else. And then that was the language of the heart. That was the difference between Alcoholics Anonymous and the counselors and the teachers and the police and everybody else who tried to get in here and tried to get in here. They didn't know the language, but they knew the language at Alcoholics Anonymous. They were putting the truth in words. And I never knew how to do that because I didn't know the truth. But I knew what it sounded like, and it sounded like what was happening in AA. And so I came here to find out what the truth was. I came here to find out what the truth of me was. I came here to find out how could I be relieved from the bondage of self, because locked up in myself, I was going to die. And they taught me how to be released from that. They taught me how to open up myself and find out what God's eyes looked like and what God's voice sounded like and what a hug from God felt like. It was in the room of Alcoholics Anonymous. And they did teach me that I didn't come into the room and survive for an hour and that was it for AA. They taught me that I would come in here for an hour and I would learn how to live for that hour so that I could spend the other 24 living what I learned in the room. And that I didn't have to do it all alone. I was always alone. I was always with people and was all alone. Because I didn't have me, I didn't have God, and I didn't have the truth. And I found that all here in Alcoholics Anonymous. What I did was Alcoholics Anonymous to the best of my ability because there was nothing left for me to do. And what I decided was I'm going to do AA to the best of my ability. And when it doesn't work, that's the way we think. When it doesn't work, then I'll be able to drink and everybody will get off my back because I can say I did it to the best of my ability. I did AA to the best of my ability. And what I ended up with was getting to stay sober, becoming happy, joyous, and free, having confidence in the future, having hope that I never believed existed. That's what I ended up getting, doing the best I could with Alcoholics Anonymous for a small given period. I gave them 6 months to turn it around. What's happened over the years has been this. I've learned many lessons. I have been present to learn many lessons. I have not had to learn the same lesson over and over and over again. When I choose, I can learn the lesson and move on to the next lesson. I don't have to do my lessons all alone anymore. I don't have to try to sort it out on my own. I have the people in Alcoholics Anonymous to help me do that. My family not only love but trust and respect me today. I have keys to their homes. They're not afraid I'm going to come in the middle of the night and take everything that's not nailed down like I did before. When my family doesn't hear from me in a week, they don't call the morgue to find out if I'm there. They don't call around to the hospitals. They don't have to read the police blotter anymore. They know where I am. When I can't show up to a family function because I have something to do in Alcoholics Anonymous, they're the first to tell me. It's okay. You can be here next year. You can come next week. Go do your AA thing. They love that I'm a part of something. Today I woke up knowing what I did last night. I woke up on clean sheets. I woke up sober. I woke up breathing in and out. I woke up next to somebody's husband and it was mine. There's a miracle in itself. I got out of the bed and I got on my knees and I said, "Good morning, God." Not "Good God, it's morning" like it used to be. "Good morning, God." And then I had conversation with God. It's very private to me. I have a God today that loves me no matter what, that accepts me no matter what, that has only good for me no matter what, has a storehouse full of more success than I'll ever know in my life with my name on it, has love beyond my wildest dreams there for me. And it's mine. It's not somebody else's. If I don't use it, it'll stay right there and wait for me. No one else can take it from me. I've been given dignity and self-respect. I have been given integrity. I have been taught responsibility. It's not a long word for work anymore. It's a long word for freedom. Responsibility for what I think and who I am and what I do and how I feel and what I've done and what I'm going to do. I've been given the opportunity to become an adult from the inside out. I love who I am today because you loved me. If I wasn't me, I'd want to be me. That's how much I love me today. That's a big deal because I wanted to be anybody but me. And if you would just give me 3 minutes and let me find out who it is you need me to be, that's who I'll be. That's who I used to be. That's not me anymore. I'm in relationship with the people in my life today. It's not, what do you got that I need to work from you? It's, how can I help you? How can I help you? And if I can't help you, then please, God, don't let me hurt you. And that's my prayer for people today. If I can't help them, God, help me not hurt them. Do I do this 100% to the T every single day? No. About the only thing that I've done right 100% is I don't drink or drug no matter what, one day at a time. Okay? But each day I don't drink or drug no matter what. I got a chance. I got a shot at making it right. I got a shot at feeling okay about who I am. I got a shot at being anything and anyone I ever dreamed I could possibly ever be. My expectations, which were very low when I got here, I just thought, well, you know, maybe I won't drink anymore, and, well, I won't have anything they have because they're much better than me, but, you know, maybe if I stopped getting in trouble all the time, that'd be good. That's it. That's all I expected from AA. And I so undershot the mark. The outside stuff continues to change. So I won't dwell too much on the outside stuff because it continues to change. But I can tell you this, each time it changes into something better. Always. Even when I'm throwing my fit and going, this isn't what I wanted, God, and how come I'm not getting it my way, God, and hurry up on my time, God, thank you very much. Even when I'm throwing my childish fit and God's just loving me anyway and holding me in his hand, whenever the change is complete, it's always to something better. It's always to a higher level. It's always to a larger purpose so that I can help the people around me. My sobriety is not contingent on the fact that I have a place to live and I got that wonderful, incredible life partner, my husband. It's not contingent on the fact that my family love and respect me. It's not contingent on the fact that I got a career. It's not contingent on any of that. Well, spirituality is contingent on the fact that I have a relationship with God today, right this minute, right now. That. Some days all the people in my life aren't pleased with me. And some days I'm not pleased with them, and that is okay. It's okay. It's not comfortable, but it's okay. Because I know that if I'm doing Alcoholics Anonymous to the best of my ability, that I'm right with my higher power. Not yours, not God, but my higher power, who loves me no matter what. Now, how did all this happen? Let me tell you. I have to do something for Alcoholics Anonymous to work. It's to try to suck the marrow out of the bones of life, not come to a meeting so I can meet my friends and hang out and talk for an hour while somebody's talking. That's not what Alcoholics Anonymous is for, and that's not what I utilize it for. I come here and I learn how to live. I come here and I learn how do these steps work. How do you let it go? People would say, oh, let it go. And I'd be like, what are you talking about? How do you do that? This is where I found out. This is where I found out how to be successful and not drink, how to fail and learn from it and not drink, how to be married and not drink, how to not be married and not drink, how to go to work every day and not drink, how to have people die in my life and not drink. This is where I found out how to do this. I had to utilize sponsorship. I had to utilize prayer. I had to utilize the literature. I had to study the literature. I know who's telling the truth and who ain't, because I know the literature. But if you don't know the literature, how do you know? How do I know the parameters of where I need to be? The literature teaches me that. And it's not limited to the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. There's the 12 and 12. There's the 12 steps and the 12 traditions outlined. If I need a meeting and I just possibly can't get to one right that minute, in the back of the big book, There's stories back there that are a meeting that I can get. There's the grapevine literature. There are tapes. There's the telephone that I can pick up. There's a newcomer everywhere for me to be able to help. Guess what else? There's old-timers that need my help. There's people with the same day I got that need my help. Because if I'm doing something outside of me, I'm escaping from me for that little bit of time, so then when I return, I can go back with some reality. Because I don't know about you, but I'm the drama queen. If it's happening to me, then it's the biggest thing in the world. It's the most blown out. It's the most tragic, the most horrible, the biggest backstabbing. It all happens to me. And I leave me and I go help somebody else whose problems are much greater than mine. And I find out how little my problems really are. And I get a proper perspective. And then I come back to me with God, with my sponsor, and we find out what the solution is. What the solution is. I can tell you this. The solution to any one of my problems is always don't drink or drug no matter what. That's always the solution. Okay, I'm not doing that. What else you got? Then I take it to the next level. I talk to God. I look at the literature. I talk to another recovering alcoholic. This program is for people that want it. If you don't want it, don't worry. You won't get it. If you want it, there's a lot of work to be done. But if you're not drinking anyway, what else are you going to do? You get your feet wet, you do the work. It's been the most incredible thing that's ever happened for me. All possibilities have happened because of Alcoholics Anonymous. There was nothing but shut doors in front of me when I got here. And it just not has been like that. It hasn't been. I have never had to be alone. I have never had to live the way that I lived before. I have never had to feel about myself the way that I felt before. Faith without works is dead, and action is the magic word. I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
My name's Sean, recovering alcoholic. I have a black. I like to present to Kathy Phillips to show our appreciation for coming in. Keep coming back.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, Sean.